Hello. So we are going to do equivalent fractions today. And I asked you to do 3 pages of math versus 2, but that's because we have a little crafty project. So for math today, you need your math book, you need a piece of paper, and you need some colored pencils. And we're going to talk about equivalent fractions today. So first things first, let's just talk about the word equivalent fractions. So equivalent kind of sounds like what word? It kind of sounds like equal, right? So if we're saying equivalent fractions, we're talking about fractions that are equal. Okay, so the same size, right? Not the same number of pieces, but the same size. So our essential question for today is how can you use models to find equivalent fractions? Now you guys have your fraction strips, but we're not going to use this today. We're kind of going to make our own fraction model out of a piece of paper, okay? And this will be good for you guys that have lost your fraction strip. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so you need a sheet of paper, crayons, or a colored pencil. Step 1, or A. First, fold your sheet of paper into 2 equal parts. All right, and the way you do that is you line up the edges and then crease it. Right. Here are 2 equal parts, 1 part, 2 parts, and they're exactly the same size. So it says here, open the paper and count the parts. We already did that. And then there are blank equal parts. How many equal parts do we have? 2. And each part is, so just one of them is what? 1/2. Okay? Shade one of the halves and write 1/2 on each half. So I got to shade one of these. All right, so if you see, I only shaded 1/2 because that's what it said. And now the next part of the direction is to write 1/2 on each side, since each side of the paper is 1/2. So I kind of copied the picture and I put the 1/2s kind of close to each other. All right, so part B, the next step is to fold the paper in half 2 times. So we already folded it in half 1 time, so 1. And then 2, go ahead and fold it down. Do the same thing, you line up the edges, and then you crease it, and open it back up. And now, how many equal parts do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. And one of these parts is going to be called what? 1/4 or 1/4. So when we're doing our worksheets, we are going to say there are 4 equal parts and each part is 1/4 of the paper. Now you're going to write 1/4 on each of the fourths, okay? So I'm going to take this. So it looks like that. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. Look at the shaded part of just a half. So I'm going to go like this and just look at 1/2. How many quarters are in 1/2? 1/4, 2 quarters. So 1/2 is equivalent or the same as 2 quarters. Go ahead and write that right there. Okay. All right, and we're going to do the last one, part C. Oh, it's making us fold it another time. So I got it folded. So we folded it 1 time, 2 times, then we got folded again. This one's harder. My paper is cardstock, so it's harder to fold. Making faces helps. It really does. All right, so cut it in 3 times. All right, so now that I've cut in half 3 times, how many pieces do I have? How many equal pieces? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal pieces. And each one of these little pieces is going to be called what? Is it going to be called a 16th if there's 8 of them? No, it's going to be called 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8. Okay. So now we have eighths. How many eighths make a half? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4/8 is the same as 1/2. Okay? And that's an equivalent fraction. Last, fold the paper in half 3 times. Now there are 8 equal parts. Each part is 1/8 of the paper. Write 1/8 on each of them. Find the fraction equivalent to 1/2 on your paper. So 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8 are all equivalent. They're all the same. Okay? You guys are doing a great job. It's fun when we get to do stuff like this. All right, so the next page. All right, so now we have to explain how many eighths are equivalent to 1/4. So to do that, I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to fold it in half. This is just 1/2. But if I fold it in half again, this is 1/4. How many eighths are in 1/4? 1/8, 2/8. All right, so we're going to explain how many eighths parts are equivalent to 1/4. I'm just going to write 2/8 equals 1/4. What do you notice about how the numerator changed for the shaded part as you folded the paper? So when we're looking at it, our numerator, we had 1/2, 2/4, or 4/8. Our numerator is the top number. How did our numerator change each time? 1, 2, and 4. Doubled, didn't it? So 2 1s is 2, and 2 2s is 4. Double. What does this tell you about the change in the number of parts? It means we're doubling the parts, right? Or doubling the pieces. How did the denominators change? Did our denominators do the same thing? Yes, they did. Our denominators doubled as well. What does that tell you about the change in size of the parts? Now remember, the bigger the number, the smaller the piece. So if the number kept on getting bigger, the pieces kept on getting smaller, right? Okay? All right, let's look at the bottom. So now we, instead of using our piece of paper, we're going to use a number line. And sometimes number lines are easier because we already have the fractions written on both parts of it. And if you look at this number line, wow, they already put thirds in for us. Right? But it wants us now to put the sixths in. So thirds means we cut it into 3 pieces. Sixths means we're going to cut it into how many pieces? Yeah, we're going to cut it into 6 pieces. So here's 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 piece, 4 piece, 5 piece, and 6 pieces. So now I have to go through and number my number line, just like we did in the last unit with my 6. So I have 0, 6, 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, 6, 4, 6, 5, 6, and 6. Okay. All right, you can use the number line to find equivalent fractions. Find a fraction equivalent to 2/3. So the first thing I'm going to do is circle 2/3. And then we're going to see how many 6 is 2/3. You're right, it is 4/6. Okay, identify the fraction names. You don't have to do that little one. All right, and now we got one more page. See why I had you do 3 pages instead of 2? This now you can practice. So you're going to go through and you're going to practice what I just taught you. And we're going to look at it and you're going to have to shade the model. So I'm going to do one of these with you and then you'll do number 2 and then I'll do number 3 with you and you'll do number 4. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do number 5 with you yet. We'll find out. All right. So shade the model. I'm going to use a pretty color. Then divide the pieces to find the equivalent fraction. So it says 1/4. So I got to shade 1/4. Is equal to how many eighths? Now this whole is cut up into 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now I got to make it cut up into 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a line right down the middle and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Since I already shaded the 4th, how many eighths are in that 4th? There is 1 and 2. So I know 1/4 is equal to 2/8. Number 2 is similar. In order to make this into 6, you just have to draw a line down the middle, okay? And make sure you shade what it says. It doesn't say 1/3. What does it say? Yeah, it says 2/3. All right, and number 3 and 4, it's using the number line. So it already has labeled the number line for you, so it makes it a little bit easier. Use the number line to find the equivalent fraction. This one says 1/2 is equal to how many 6? I'm going to circle 1/2 and look directly above it. And the answer is 3/6. Okay, you're going to do the same thing for number 4. All right, and then you have to explain why 2/2 is equal to 1. You can do that on your own. And you can do the true and false on your own. I hope this was really helpful, guys, and you have a good rest of your day.